Yo, I'm Tripolar Bear, and we're going to talk about how you can craft just about 80-90% or more of the items in the game. This is how most people are crafting. These are the generic steps for crafting. Obviously, it changes up a little bit when you start getting into very niche specific pieces, but as a general formula, you can kind of get an understanding for how some of these 5 and 6 mod items are created, as most crafting is going to follow this general format, right? Some of the steps will be taken out, swapped for different ones, but in the end, they mostly follow this format. I will give 2 examples. We're going to create a despair on hit ring for a chaos or poison build, and we're going to create a maximum life Stygian Vice with some stats, some res, and some chaos damage as well, right? Number 1, let's go through the steps, and then we're going to go through the example items following these steps. We're going to focus on a suffix example, although this applies perfectly fine to prefixes. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to do suffix. So you want to focus on getting 3 good suffixes. Have in mind what the 3 good suffixes you want are going to be. Think about how you can get those, right? We'll talk about that for the despair ring. It's good to keep in mind, right? You have to look them up, go on Craft of Exile, go on POB, and look at the mods on the items. Get those figured out. And then number 2, once you have those in mind, you're going to want to essence, reforge, fossil. You can awaken orb, or you can combinate until you have your 2 good suffixes. Now, combinating lets you skip straight to 3 good mods sometimes, which is very nice. You kind of just slam 2 really good mods with 2 really good mods, and sometimes you get 3 really good ones out, which is very nice. But generally, you're going to be doing these things, right? You're using essences, fossils, reforging till you get 2 good ones, right? Sometimes you get lucky and you get 3 right away. If you don't though, right? You have your 2 good mods, you craft suffixes cannot be changed, and you reforge for the last suffix. Sometimes you can augment for the last mod, depending on what's blocked. I know for like scepters, some amulets and stuff, there are certain scenarios where you could go to the TFT and buy an augment off of someone, which is pretty much a targeted Exalt Slam, right? So it would be Aug Fizz. It would apply only 1 Fizz mod instead of, a bunch of other ones with random Exalt Slams. Sometimes that lets you not have to reforge, or it lets you force something, but more often than not, it's just going to be suffixes cannot be changed and you reforge. Number 4, suffixes cannot be changed and reforge for a good prefix. Now, sometimes for jewelry, you can kind of skip this part and use a Veiled Chaos. We'll talk about that for the ring, not for the belt. Now that you have your 3 good suffixes, you're going to lock those in with suffixes cannot be changed, and you reforge for a prefix now. Then you're going to suffixes cannot be changed and ashling, right? Ashling has a 50% chance to remove either the craft, suffixes cannot be changed, or the mod that you reforged, right? So it's a 50-50 on whether you have to go back to step 1. And then number 6 is going to be just crafting the final prefix, right? Finally, once you have your 5 mods, you just finished off with the craft. We'll also go over a body armor example as well with a Woke Orb, just to kind of get a sense of what that ashling would look like on a body armor. So let's get into the first good example. We have an Iolite ring here. I know the good suffixes that I want. I want chaos damage, I want chaos resistance, and I want despair on hit. Rings are really easy because you can get life on them very easily once you get your suffixes locked in. So I like to do that. You can get stats, you can get res, you can get a curse on hit in your suffixes, and then it's trivial to get life and the minus mana cost. So with jewelry, you're of course going to want to do catalyst. So we're just going to do noxious catalyst for increased effect of chaos mods. Then what I want to do is I want to envy essence spam on a hunter base. Let me turn off my dark mode browser so you can actually see that. On a hunter base, I'm going to essence spam until I hit despair on hit. Now, this is going to take quite a few of them, but if you ever want to know, you can go on Craft of Exile. You can go to their calculator, right? We can go jewelry, and we can see exactly how many it should take. If we choose essences, we choose envy, we do a hunter influence ring, and we scroll down for despair on hit at T2, because it doesn't matter T1 or T2. So on average, it's going to take 155 essences to get this, right? A little bit tricky, but certainly not impossible. Now you see here, we have T2 int, and we have the chaos damage and despair on hit. If you need the int, this works out really well, right? Now you have intelligence as your suffix. If you don't, and if int is really bad for your build, you can do 2 things from this step. You can either annul down, or you can use beast crafting to turn one of your suffixes into a prefix, right? It's going to remove a random suffix and add a new prefix. This is a 1 out of 3 to brick your item, right? So let's say you really didn't need int and you don't mind going back to step 1 because this is one of the last pieces and you just want to get a really good, really solid roll here, right? Maybe you really need that chaos res. Here we lost it, so let's just go back. We lost it again, right? We lost it again. We lost it again. And now we have chaos damage and despair, right? So we successfully, after a few attempts, we successfully removed the int. Sometimes you won't get the random suffixes. Sometimes you're just gonna have to cope with whatever you get. Sometimes it's a res and it's not bad. But int, generally you won't need that if you're a despair on hit build, right? You're already gonna be top right of the tree. You'll probably be okay on int. Now from this point forward, right, we have our 2 good suffixes. We're going to craft the prefix. Suffixes cannot be changed, right? This is crafted as a prefix mod, so it doesn't take the suffix slot. Now we're locking these in, right? This is what lock suffixes mean. We're going to lock those in, and we're going to use a harvest reforge for chaos, because I want chaos resistance on this ring, for an example, right? So we're going to reforge chaos, and now we're either going to hit the poison damage or poison duration, or poison damage and poison duration mod, which works out very well if you're a poison build, or you're going to hit chaos res. So let's say we are a poison build. This is really good, right? 10 poison duration is fantastic. Another 20 increase is really, really nice as well. So let's just say we're keeping it here. But now we have crappy mana and 3 good suffixes. So how can we get a good life? The thing is, on rings and on jewelry and some other pieces as well, getting life is really easy, right? And on rings especially, you want to have life and the minus mana cost craft. So many builds need that to rein in their mana costs. So what we're going to do now is we're going to craft suffixes cannot be changed again, and then we're going to veiled chaos orb. Now that, right, since we did the craft, our suffixes are locked in, they didn't change, and now we have a veiled mod that we can unveil. But before we do that, you want to make sure that you craft on mana, right? You want to make sure you craft mana so we block what the unveils could be. So if we go to Craft of Exile and we scroll down to veiled mods, any of the weightings here that you see under veiled mods are things that you could unveil from a veiled chaos orb. And you see there's 1, 2, 3 mana mods that we could unveil. The thing is though, if we just craft mana onto our ring here, when you do that, it blocks out you being able to unveil all 3 of those mana mods. So now all we can unveil is the life mod, which is really good, and then these flat elemental damage mods, right? So we have a pretty good chance, right? It's 1 out of 4 mods here, and we get 3 of the mods randomly, right? So sometimes you hit the triple Ellie on the unveil, but more often than not, you're going to hit the life mod. So let's unveil this, and we hit life, right? Which is really nice. And now we can finish our item off with the craft minus mana to non-channeling skills. Now we have 3 really good suffixes. We've got chaos damage, despair, poison duration and damage. We have life, and we have minus mana, right? That's a really good ring. But just as an example, let's say we unveiled something dumb, right? Let's say it gave us the 3 Ellie things, and now we have this. This is really easy. You just go and you do suffixes cannot be changed, and you veiled chaos again. Now let's go through another horror scenario. After you do a veiled chaos, your prefixes are full, right? So now you cannot craft suffixes cannot be changed. You have 3 prefixes. There's no more rooms for crafts, right? Let's say we have 2 here, and then we have the veiled mod. And if you unveil something, you can't remove it because it's not a craft, right? So now you have like 3 bad prefixes with your 3 good suffixes. Your ring base isn't bricked, because what you do in these scenarios is you do a reforge keeping suffixes. This is another harvest craft that's very nice, right? So it's an other craft, reforge in a rare item keeping suffixes. It's a little bit expensive. They generally go for 50C to an exalt, but when you do this, it keeps your suffixes and it will give you another random one, right? Generally, it gives you 1 to 2 prefixes, which is very nice because now we can easily just do suffixes cannot be changed, veiled chaos. On this one, we hit life, which is a little goofy, but hey, it is what it is. But right, that's how you get from the brick scenario. Now, let's go from ring to belt. Now we're going to make a Hunter Stygian Vice that has T1 life, T1 max life, chaos damage, flash charge on crit, and some stats and res on top. So number one, you're going to catalyst, right? Because catalysts are expensive as hell. So we catalyst it, and now since we have a hunter base, hunter can roll % increased life, and then we just want flat life as well. So the easiest way to do this is, since there's no essence for flat life on belts, we can just do a fossil, right? We're going to use pristine for more life mods. And if you want to, you can go again and see how many this would take, right? So let's go to belts. I think the last time I did this, I think it was like 100 something fossils, right? So we have hunter influence. We're going for tier 1 life with tier 1% increased life. And using pristine fossils, this is going to take 92 pristine fossils, which is not bad for double T1 life. So let's go ahead and do this. I'll skip ahead till when I hit it because it's going to take about 100 clicks. All right. So we did all of the fossil spamming, and we now have tier 1 flat life and tier 1 100% increased life. Luckily, in this example, we didn't hit another prefix. So we have a prefix open, which is very, very nice. So we don't have to annul anything random off, because we do want a specific mod, right? On hunter belts, what we can do is we can get chaos damage as a hunter prefix, or we can get flask charge when we deal a crit, right? So this is where you'd want to make a choice. If you want chaos damage, you're going to do prefixes cannot be changed, and then you're going to reforge chaos, which has a chance to give you a suffix chaos res, right? But in this case, we hit chaos damage. Or you're going to lock prefixes, and then you're going to reforge crit, which guarantees this mod in your prefix because there are no other crit mods on a belt. So generally this is one people will go for, so long as they're not Pathfinder and stuff like that, or they don't already have a source of flash charge on crit, or, you know, if they're not a crit build, you wouldn't go this, obviously. This does make it very easy to resell, right? So this is something to keep in mind for sure when you're crafting stuff like this, is even if you don't use it, right, this is a really nice mod for other builds to have, even if it's not yours, especially if you don't need the chaos damage, right? It's like 2x and you get flash charge or crit. That's not bad, right? It can make it a lot more appealing and make it easier to sell when you're done with the build. Just things to keep in mind. All right, so now that we have this, we have our 3 good prefixes. What we're going to do now is we're going to prefixes cannot be changed, and let's say we need chaos resistance. So we're going to reforge chaos now. We hit T4 chaos. Let's say we don't like that. We want to go again, right? We need to hit like T3 or T2. So we have really good chaos resistance. With this one, we hit some other random mod there. So let's do prefixes cannot be changed again. Now this one, we hit T1 lightning res alongside all this. So obviously this is something you would keep, right? Obviously you keep something like this, but you know, otherwise, if you hit some random T3 chaos res, if you hit random whatever, and you're kind of poor, right? Even T4, this is still nice because you don't have to spend another 2x, right? Every time you do these crafts, it's 2x. So honestly, if it was at the very first step, when I didn't hit any other suffixes, I would keep T4 chaos res. And from this point onwards, now we're going to do prefixes cannot be changed again, and we're going to do a ashling veil. So since prefixes cannot be changed, ashling is going to replace a random mod on your rare item with a veiled mod. What this does is it's either going to remove the craft or remove the chaos res. Because our prefixes cannot be changed, there are only 2 choices, the 2 suffixes we have. So it's a 50-50. In this scenario, it removed our chaos res. So you would unveil something random, and you would go, and since your craft is still here, you would do another harvest reforge for chaos. We hit T6 chaos res. So let's say we reforge again, and now we have T1, right? That's really good. Prefixes cannot be changed. Now that you have tier 1, you pray to Chris Wilson that the 50-50 doesn't fail, and it removes that. You can go and you can see if you want to block some stuff, right? Maybe you want to block one of the resistances on your Stygian belt now. So you would go, you do jewelry, you do belt here, you scroll down and you see, are there veiled mods that I don't want in suffixes, right? All of these that have weighting are ones that you want to try to block, right? The higher the weighting, the more likely it is. So cooldown recovery rate is a really easy one to block. ES regen is an easy one to block if you don't use energy shield on your build, or the crit strike chance lucky if you do kind of want one or two of these mods. In this example, let's say we don't want the cooldown recovery rate. So I'm going to craft cooldown recovery rate to block that from being unveiled. And then we're going to unveil strength and intelligence, right? You can do fire and chaos res. You can do stats. It just depends what your build needs. Let's say we need some strength on our build. So now we got a guaranteed 30 strength. And now if we still need like some res or something, we can do like fire and cold res. And now we have T1 life, T1% life, flash charge on crit with chaos res, strength in it, and fire and cold res, right? This is a very nice belt, and it should be very easy to sell later on because everyone wants life in softcore, right? The last example we're going to do here is we're going to do a body armor. We're going to just make a generic spell crit body armor that has spell crit and frenzy charge generation and an additional curse. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so you have an Awakener's Orb. You take your frenzy charge on hit, you slam it into your spell crit base, which is already 6-linked, right? So you're going to copy frenzy onto the 6-link base with your Awakener's Orb, and you get a bunch of random mods. Now, we have 2 suffixes here, right? And this is what you generally want to do with woke orbs, right? Following the formula as before. When you woke orb something, you want to woke orb into 2 prefixes or 2 suffixes so that you can focus on that last one, and then you can lock them in place and focus on your other mods there. So in this scenario, we're doing spell critical strike chance and frenzy charge on hit. Our final item, we want to have life and additional curse as a prefix. But right now, our prefixes are full and we only have 1 suffix left. Now this is a tricky scenario here, because you might be thinking, right, we need to do the suffixes cannot be changed craft. The thing is, we have 3 prefixes, so you're saying to yourself, oh, I remember TPB before saying that I can reforge keep suffixes, and that's true. The thing is, though, you have a suffix open right now. So if you're to do suffixes, keeping suffixes, right, reforge, harvest, keeping suffixes, it's going to fill that last suffix mod with life regen or some other random crap, right? So what you do here is before you do the reforge keep suffixes, you're going to want to go down and you're going to want to craft a random mod, right? It doesn't matter, but this is going to stop a mod from being rolled onto that. Now you do your reforge keeping suffixes so that we can then craft a lock suffix mod to reforge into something good. Generally, reforging body armors, you have to go and you have to look at the mods, right? Because on different influence bases, there are going to be extra different mods here. So let's go to strength dex. Let's add our Redeemer and Hunter influence. When we look at the suffixes here, there are extra modifiers for random things, right? On our item. So for example, if I want to get lightning res on my body armor, and I do reforge lightning, you have to make sure that you have no lightning in prefixes so that you can only hit lightning resistance, right? So if you want cold, you have to be careful, or chaos, you have to be careful, right? Because there is fizz taken as cold and fizz taken as chaos, which are going to eat up that guaranteed mod. If you want for elemental resistances, this works out well because there's a harvest that lets you res swap. So let's say you do need cold res no matter what as a suffix on your body armor for this slot. What you can do is, since there's a cold prefix on Redeemer body armors, but there are no other fire, right? And we can even check and we can filter out fire mods. The only fire mod on body armor that has Redeemer and Hunter influence is fire resistance. We can reforge fire and then do a resistance swap into cold. So let's go ahead and do that with this body armor. We're going to remove the craft we have so that we can do suffixes cannot be changed. So let's find that. We need to do suffixes cannot be changed, locking our suffixes, right? It's the suffix lock. So we go boom. Now we have our suffix back and open, and we're going to reforge fire. Now that gives us fire res, right? And let's do that again so we can get fire res, right? You can see every time we're getting fire res because there's no other fire mods. Sometimes you get good fire res, sometimes you get bad, but since it's guaranteeing a fire mod and there are no other fire mods, right? As we can see by filtering out all the other mods, you're guaranteed to hit fire res. And then you can take a harvest resist and we can do fire to cold, right? Let's say you did this and you hit T5, right? It's not the worst, but you know, it's not the best. It's 20 something res. If you're fine with that, then that's totally fine. If not, then you can finish this item and you can sell it and you can start again instead of using another 2 exalts or trying to, you know, just scrap this and make another, right? For woke orb bases, they're a little bit tricky. So if you need a really good res roll, you're better off just selling this base later on, right? You would still finish this craft, but you would just sell it, you know, at a little bit of a break even, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit of a loss, but it's better than just scrapping the whole item, right? Or trying to start again somehow. But let's do the res swap. So now we need cold res, so we do fire to cold. Now we have cold resistance guaranteed on our body armor very easily. Now, just like before, we're going to do suffixes cannot be changed, and then we're going to reforge a caster mod. If we look at PoEDB or Craft of Exile, we can see that additional curse is one of the only caster mods. Spell critical strike chance is another caster mod, but we already have spell critical strike chance. So if I take this body armor and I reforge caster, it's guaranteed to get additional curse, which is really powerful, right? So now we have an additional curse chest piece with all these other mods. If you didn't hit only additional curse, right? In this example, this reforge, we hit fizz to attacks. That can be okay. If you're running out of money, you could just go ahead and craft life, and this chest is perfectly fine enough. But if you want that Ashling mod, that last one, to get a full thing, to get a full 6 mod body armor, you have to do suffixes cannot be changed, reforging caster again, and you got to do it again until you hit only that mod. Now from this point forward, we do suffixes cannot be changed again, just like all the other items. Then we do an Ashling 50-50 for whether or not it removes the craft or it removes our additional curse. In this scenario, it removed the craft, so we have to do another reforge caster, making sure that additional curse is the only one. We lost another 50-50 again, starting to pull our hair out, but hey, it's fine. Right? Chris, it's fine. 50-50s are fun. Now we go to veiled prefixes and look at the mods that we want and the mods that we don't want, right? Increased maximum life is a very good mod. Chance to avoid elemental ailments is pretty good. And you have attack and spell block, armor, and evasion, right? What we're going for is increased maximum life. That one is really, really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to block spell block because that has a very high weighting. And let's say that we're not scaling spell block or we don't have that much anywhere else on our character. So it's a sort of useless mod for us, right? It's not the most useless, but you know, it's really not going to be that good if we're not doing anything else with spell block. So now we're going to unveil, and we unveil into attack block, chance to avoid, or the maximum life. Now we unveil the maximum life, and we're going to finish our craft with crafted life. So now we have spell crit, frenzy charge, additional curse, increased max life, a little bit of cold res, and we've got max life on our gear. This is the general formula most people will use to craft items in Path of Exile. I hope all of these examples kind of narrowed it down. There's a few little tricks for when your items get full of mods, or you know, what happens if I hit a random thing on my suffix, like how do I remove it? Do you just annul and whatnot? There's so many of these little things. Let me know if you think crafting guides like this were pretty useful. If you think I should do more tutorial-like guides for simplifying some of the more difficult aspects of the game, down in the comments below. Anyways, other than that, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the Twitch stream. All right, bye.